I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello everyone, and welcome to 2021. This is Jedi Knights. I'm your host, Christian Buckley. This is the official Star Wars podcast for Joy Clicks. I am joined, as always, by my Chewie, Mike Connors.
Thanks for having me. Though I'm not sure who actually is hosting this podcast.
Oh, excuse me, Grogu, what are you doing here?
Whoa,
You're supposed
Christian.
to be with Master Luke.
It's amazing. Grogu has the same voice as you, Christian.
I know. Well, the thing is, it's funny because obviously I'm under an NDA, but over my break I went into LucasFilm and I recorded 80 years worth of dialogue for Grogu.
Yeah, I'm actually under an NDA, so I went into Lucasfilm, and I'm about to break this NDA. And but yeah, I got Grogu here too, so maybe he's got a brother.
Mm-hmm. The next wave. Honestly, man, what if like some alternate universe, Luke's entire Jedi Temple was just all Grogu's, like a bunch of the species?
Yeah, that's like that's like if Thanos used like what is it, like the time stone or something like that to like transport back into a galaxy far, far away and messes with the timelines or something.
Well,
that's what it'd be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what a silly start to 2021, you know? This is the first official episode of Jedi Knights in the new year. We got a new look. I have a new on everything. Mike, we got some new Star Wars merch over the break. But first off, how was your break? How was your break in terms of Star Wars?
You know, my break was good. You know, it's never, you never really get a break from Star Wars, right? It always finds a way back into your life one way or another. Not like I was really trying to not get any Star Wars in my life during the break, but you know, Christmas is always a Star Wars time. I feel like we've talked about that, Christian.
Yeah.
Like the holiday seasons, just warm and cozy, snuggle up on the couch and watch, Empire Strikes Back and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was good spending time with family and stuff safely with COVID and everything. And yeah, I'm just happy to get back to it. This is our third calendar year, but we haven't been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah, which is, it's still cool. It's an exciting thing. I'm glad the show's been able to thrive and continue this long.
Me too. How was your break?
It was good. Mike, I had a very Grogu Christmas. I got so much Grogu merch. I'm telling you. Like, it's hard to see on my set, but back there, right in front of the Destiny Ghost, and for those that don't know Destiny, it's next to Crash.
Okay.
I got the little brick heads from Lego. I got the set of Grogu in the egg and Mando from Kayla, my girlfriend, and she was like, hey, the idea was we would get something we can do together, so she got me a Lego set. So we built the Legos together. Got this chunky bad boy right here, this Grogu that stole my job as host. Got a Grogu Christmas sweater. I got a Grogu calendar. I got a little like magnet shoulder buddy Grogu for when I eventually go to Galaxy's Edge. So
very nice,
very Star Wars a year.
For sure. The brickheads, how do you feel about those? I mean, like, are they complicated? Like, how long do they take? Because they seem small.
Yeah, so I think they're about like 3.5 inches tall each.
Okay.
I think each one was about 100 to 170 pieces. So it didn't take super long. I think for both of them together, it took us maybe a little under 2 hours. We were
nice.
Passing back and forth, taking turns building stuff. So, if you did like a speed run, it would probably be like an hour maybe. But yeah. What Star Wars media did you consume over the break? If any?
Not really any new Star Wars media, I have to say. But you talking about your Lego brickheads does remind me of the fact that I splurged on myself and bought the Lego A-Wing Starfighter. So if you could count that as media. That would count maybe, but so that was like 1,700 pieces. I had help from my mom, my sister, which was fun, but I'd say the majority of it, like I did on my own. That took a long time.
Very nice.
But it looks pretty cool, sitting on my desk and everything. So I'm pretty hyped about it.
Nice. That reminds me also. I got a you know how like there's the helmets you can build out of Lego.
Yeah,
they're like the scale models. I got a Boba Fett one too that I'm saving for a rainy day.
That's cool.
Yeah, there was some Star Wars content that dropped over the break, specifically Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian Season 2.
Right. Which I still haven't watched.
The first book in the High Republic, which we'll touch on these things later in the episode. There were two other things I consumed Star Wars wise over break. One was I rewatched The Rise of Skywalker.
Sorry.
Because here's the thing, I was like, hey, it's a year anniversary of the film. I haven't watched it since theaters, and I was like, you know what? I'll just give it another shot. Like, there's been some revelations since the last time I watched it, like Palpatine revealed to be a clone. I gotta say, not much has changed. I was really saying some things in the first like 10 minutes because, man, I really forgot how much they're like, oh, you didn't like The Last Jedi? Never mind. In the first like 10 minutes. But I truly think everything after they meet up with Lando, it's a fun Star Wars movie after that, with some dumb choices in the plot, but like whatever, I can go along with it. The ending I wish hit harder than it does, but I think in terms of ending the Skywalker saga a year out, it's a fine ending. But I'm just ready for the new stuff at this point.
You know, I think we had been talking, Christian, about you went back and watched the review that you, Pat, and I did.
Yeah.
And we were praising it, correct?
I wouldn't say praising, but I was much more positive on it, I think, because remember when we did that review, it was like 9 hours after we saw the movie, and like
that's true. We did it the morning after.
Yeah, so it was I was surprised at how positive I was. I had similar complaints. I feel like the things I don't like have become more like character choices since the original, of like changing Rey's arc from anyone can be the hero and save the day to it doesn't matter who your family is. I think that's the thing. It's like, well, we've been there before with Luke and Vader and everything, and the nobody arc was new. I'm fine with her being a Skywalker. Like, I never had an issue with that. It's just the Palpatine connection. It's like, okay, fine. But yeah, I'm ready for the future. I'm ready for more stuff. Eventually, I'd like to explore some of these characters again, but I'm ready for the High Republic, which we'll get to.
We will get to it. It's one of those things, Christian, that like I almost need to just like applaud you for like using your energy to like actually go into Disney Plus and click The Rise of Skywalker and sit there and watch it, because like I'm thinking about that too. Like, I don't know if I could like I have better things to do, you know? Like, I almost like I could watch every single Star Wars movie, like even the ones I don't think are better than the other ones, but watching The Rise of Skywalker again, for me at least, seems like a painful task. But it will happen at some point. I'm just saying I applaud you for doing it so soon.
Thank you.
Anyway.
And as far as gallery is concerned, we can save that conversation for when you watch it eventually.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
But I started Knights of the Old Republic on my Twitch account. So I played about 5 hours of it so far. I'm going to continue that on Friday. I'm skewing light side. Unfortunately, I know the twist. Been playing female version of the character. She's a badass, no nonsense. I'm enjoying the dialogue. Surprised at how like many options there are dialogue wise. I know your character's not voiced, but like the characters you're talking to do respond differently. So I'm kind of surprised, and I think it's I was expecting to not like it, honestly, but I'm enjoying myself so far.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you still want to talk about it later? Because, like later on in the episode, Christian. Because I have some thoughts about KOTOR and everything. We could do it now or later. Up to you.
We can do it now. I don't know if there's much I want to say about KOTOR beyond this. So if you want to hit me with some thoughts.
I guess, Mike, it's not much of a thought more than a question. It's just like, what surprised you about it? Like, why did you expect not to like it, and then like why do you like it?
I think the combat. I'm not a huge PC gamer, and I know that KOTOR and KOTOR 2 are pretty acclaimed PC games from this era. I know they released on Xbox and stuff, but I feel like the way I'm seeing it and interacting with it, it just makes sense to play it on a computer. Um, and for that reason, I was like, okay, I don't know how I'll feel about this, but it's essentially. Now listen, I like some turn-based RPG combat in video games like Persona or Pokemon. It's basically that. Like it's basically just turn-based combat, which I was surprised by. And again, the dialogue options, I love that. Mass Effect, peak BioWare, big fan of that. So seeing the roots of that here, I've really enjoyed as well.
Yeah, I guess for me, like KOTOR is just it's like really early in the Star Wars, like Lucasfilm sort of like genre of not genre, but just like vein of like of making video games and everything. It's super expansive for its time. I also just like what it does to sort of build out like the Old Republic and everything. And it's a shame that you already know the twist, but I guess everybody does. Yeah, no, I'm happy that you are liking it though.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll probably have it done by sometime in February, I'd assume. So we can talk about a big spoiler talk later if you want. But
totally.
Break being concluded, let's officially begin the show the way we normally do with the Jedi Archives, where we pull a piece of lore from the sacred texts of Wikipedia to educate each other and the audience on a piece of information, canon or legends in Star Wars that we might not know. So, Mike, what is your first choice for 2021?
So I actually picked a planet.
Okay.
I feel like we don't normally pick planets.
We don't.
And right now I'm looking at the canon section, but I picked Conquered Dawn. It's a planet located in the Conquered Dawn system within the Mandalore sector of the galaxy's outer rim territories. The planet was devastated during one of the hundreds of wars it suffered, with roughly a third of its mass blast out as an asteroid-sized debris in its planetary orbit. So during the Empire, this here says that it was ruled by the Mandalorian protectors under the leadership of Fen Rao, and it's also famous as the home world of many elite warriors, including the bounty hunters Rako Hardeen and Jango Fett.
Ooh.
So, yeah, very interesting stuff here. It's interesting that it's like not technically like in like the Mandalore. Like the Mandalore is a planet, right? So I would assume that it has its own system. But I guess this is located in the Conquered Dawn system, which I'm not sure if that's close or not to Mandalore, but it seems different to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, the way they've been expanding on Mandalore, at least in Mandalorian and Clone Wars and stuff like that, it makes me feel like they're maybe exploring a little more of that, just to flesh out that culture, so we can maybe eventually get to a point where we explore the Mandalorian Wars.
I hope so. It's a very interesting part of Star Wars lore that I hope we get to see more of.
Would be very cool. My pick to kick off 2021 is a character who will most likely have a pretty big 2021.
All right.
Fenik Shand.
Nice. Ming-Na Wen.
Yeah, specifically, I want to highlight her early career under her biography section. Fenik Shand was a human female assassin who was active within the galaxy during the rise of the Galactic Empire. During this time, she encountered members of the elite clone commando squad Clone Force 99, also known as the Bad Batch. She made a name for herself working as an elite mercenary for the underworld's top crime syndicates, including the Hutt clan. At some point in her career, she became wanted by the Imperial Secretary Bureau. So, specifically, I wanted to bring this up because we noticed, many people, the internet noticed, Fenik Shand is going to be in the Bad Batch show.
Right.
And after seeing her kick off successfully post-death in Season 1 of Mando, where we leave off with her in Boba, the Book of Boba Fett this year, I really think 2021 might be a really killer year for Fenik Shand.
I think so. I'm pretty sure StarWars.com did a interview with Ming-Na Wen, and she was saying how, like, I guess she lived near like Dave Filoni and stuff like that in Pennsylvania. I think we had talked about that.
I think so. Yeah.
And how she was like really excited because she was saying how Dave Filoni is giving the character of Fenik Shand like such an opportunity in the Bad Batch to sort of like be expanded on, and how like she was saying how she has like pretty like interesting background, like rich history, and yeah, I'm wondering like how much of a role she's going to have in the Bad Batch TV show. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Christian, but it's a good pick. I'm excited to see where her character goes.
Yeah, I think as far as her role in that show is concerned, I could see her be a recurring character. Potentially, however many seasons Bad Batch ends up getting, I could see her pop around to the extent we see maybe someone like a Hondo. You know, just like once in a while we have an adventure with her and we check in on her and see where she's going just to flesh out her timeline a little more. But yeah, I love Ming-Na Wen, so I'm excited to see more of her character this year.
She's badass for sure.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we wrap up Jedi Archives for the week and dig into the chunkiness of this episode, which is some news, but specifically looking forward at 2021 in Star Wars.
Yes.
Now, we're recording, well, we record the same day we release the show, so this is January 12th. As of yesterday, there was a pretty big shakeup in the world of Star Wars, specifically Star Wars games, because LucasFilm recently announced that they're unifying their publishing efforts under LucasFilm Games. Which is interesting because, like, LucasArts, you know?
Yeah. What happened to that?
Well, I believe LucasArts was shuttered a while ago, maybe pre-Disney purchase, I don't remember. But essentially, from the gist of this, is that LucasFilm Games is going to be a publishing effort for Lucasfilm-owned IP. Star Wars falls under that camp, similar to how Marvel Games is in charge of Marvel, from like Ultimate Alliance to the mobile games, the Avengers game, the PlayStation Spider-Man games. Similar role, just like a banner, essentially.
You know, the fact that they're not going by the name LucasArts doesn't really make that much of a difference to me. It kind of makes sense from the standpoint of Disney. They kind of want to differentiate themselves, right?
Yeah, I think also to a similar extent, LucasArts, in my mind, when I hear LucasArts, I specifically think of like their adventure games. I'm actually playing through, last week on Twitch I did Sam and Max, which was LucasArts. This week I'm working on Monkey Island, which is also LucasArts. So like, when I hear the name LucasArts, the original things they did stand out to me more than like, oh yeah, they published and developed KOTOR with BioWare. They did Force Unleashed. I think of their original IP more. So I could see distancing on that front too, because most of those LucasArts IP are owned by different companies now.
You know, it's one of those things that I think, like, I guess for me, when I think of LucasArts, I think more of like the Star Wars media that they've produced. But yeah, no, this is cool though, because it shows that Disney is like actually putting more stock and yeah, just more stock into the fact that these IPs are extremely profitable when you put them in video game form.
Yeah. So I thought what was interesting about this is that the trailer for StarWars.com and the official announcement of Lucasfilm Games included, I think Galaxy of Heroes was in the sizzle, Jedi Fallen Order, Squadrons, Battlefront 2, but the Skywalker Saga Lego game as well, which is interesting because that is Traveler's Tales, which is owned by WB, not EA. So I'm wondering if this rebranding of Lucasfilm Games, as well as highlighting some of their games from different studios, might mean that there's a shifting of contracts going around and we can potentially sooner than later get more Star Wars games from other studios and publishers besides EA.
Well, that's one thing I did want to bring up with you, Christian, because I think EA Games, the contract that they have with Disney to use the Star Wars IP, doesn't that end like next year into 2022 or something?
I'm not 100% sure. I know we've had a conversation like this before, and the last thing I heard, I think might have been like 2018 or 19, Bob Iger on an investors meeting said, like, I think this might have been 2018 actually, I think he said something to the effect of, hey, we're really pleased with how EA is handling Star Wars. So yeah, that's the last thing I heard. Again, that was a few years ago. I don't know if there was a renewal of a contract at that point or what, but yes.
I hope that like more Star Wars games are coming from other developers. I think that, Star Wars is something that should be adapted for video games. I think it does really well on that platform, and just putting it under EA and just giving it to EA seems sort of limiting in that sense.
Hmm.
I see what you mean by like Lego stuff, like the Lego games, but those have always been Traveler's Tales.
Right.
Like for like going back to like Lego Star Wars 1,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So like it makes me think that that might just be an exception.
Hmm.
I don't know what, like, I haven't read like the agreements. I don't even know if they're public. They're probably not. Like
Hmm.
I don't know what that's like. I don't know what sort of separate deal Lego might have with Lucasfilm
Hmm.
to do these sorts of things, but I would say that it's more likely than not that they'll just keep giving it to EA.
Sure.
Just because EA is like a big name,
Hmm.
they have a lot of power, but I would like to see them bring the IP to other developers.
Yeah, and potentially we could see some results of this again sooner than later, because this rebranding was announced yesterday,
Mhm.
and earlier today, the first official announcement from Lucasfilm Games.
Wait.
Yes.
Before you get to that,
Mhm.
did you notice that Darth Revan? They put a big emphasis on Darth Revan in the sizzle reel.
I did. I noticed that.
What's up with that?
I don't know. Maybe we get a remaster or something. Maybe we recanonize the games. I don't know.
Just saying.
Um, but it's good that you bring that up, because I think we could maybe see an announcement this year that could lead to expanding this beyond EA, maybe, or maybe just another EA game. But because today we did see that Lucasfilm Games' first announced project is an Indiana Jones game that is being developed by Machine Games, who is owned by Bethesda. Machine Games specifically is the team that made the Wolfenstein reboots, so they got the Nazi killing down. They just got to get the adventure gaming right.
Right.
So I think that's fun. This isn't an Indiana Jones podcast, but the Lucas property, I think that's an exciting idea. That's potentially Xbox's answer to Uncharted on PlayStation. I think it's fun.
No, totally. I think it's totally fair for us to talk about Indiana Jones because it is under the Lucas Arts, not Lucas Arts, but Lucasfilm. So therefore, like to me, Indiana Jones and Star Wars are like sort of on the same level.
Yeah.
In terms of like nostalgia factor and everything. I didn't know Machine Games specifically did the Wolfenstein games, which is good to know coming from the fact that they're making Indiana Jones. I'm just excited to see another Indiana Jones game. I played. I forget which one I played, but I played the crap out of one for the original Xbox. And those games have a lot of potential. They're really cool. And I love Indiana Jones. So.
Yeah, if this ends up being tied down to Xbox, which I think it might, between this and like the potential of maybe like the new Bethesda Starfield being tied to Xbox and whatever else they're doing, might make me go in on a Series S or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but in terms of what this means for Star Wars and Lucasfilm Games now going to different developers to produce Star Wars games, I don't know what that means. Like I said, I think it's more likely that EA keeps the IP. Well, because Lucasfilm has other intellectual property like Indiana Jones and stuff. So
yeah, it's a fair thing to speculate on. I don't know the immediate answer for Star Wars. If I could throw a dream out there, and we want to continue it with EA, I did notice this with Old Republic when I've been playing it. I think there's a lot of potential, and I hinted at this earlier. I think there is a lot of potential to recanonize the Old Republic beyond, the Clone Wars connections through a new RPG, but it's set during the Mandalorian Wars, to flesh that out.
Interesting.
Because I can't imagine with how crazy, at least what I know, KOTOR and KOTOR 2 get with the lore, I can't imagine they'd even do close to a one-to-one translation to the new canon. But how much they love the Mandalorians, I could totally see an RPG about the Jedi versus the Mandalorians in the Old Republic to sort of reintroduce that time period.
Yeah, people have been saying like, oh, like redo Knights of the Old Republic, or like take that and like recanonize it in some way. And it's like, I feel like I'd be fine with like a remaster.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that. We don't even have to canonize it.
Yeah, I agree.
but like just take some of the same ideas, I guess, and take the time period and maybe try to weave those into a new project. I'd be down to see that. And the idea that you have for studying it, during the Mandalorian Civil Wars, just would make sense, considering all of the other Mandalorian stuff that they've been doing recently. So that's a hell of a dream, Christian.
Oh yeah, like the second I like in those early hours they talk a lot about Mandalore, and I'm like, ooh, there's potential here.
Yeah.
You know what else has a lot of potential?
What's that?
Jedi Fallen Order. I played this bad boy at a PS4 Pro. It chugged. It was having some issues.
Of course it did. I think wait, wasn't it still like one of the top selling games of 2020, right?
I don't know. I might have been for 2020. I don't know.
Keep talking. I'll figure it out.
Okay. So, officially, finally, a lot of game developers have been releasing patches and updates for their games that came out on Xbox One and PS4 to make them have improvements, run better, look better on PS5 and Xbox Series S and X. Today, it has been confirmed. I don't know if it's been released yet, but it has been confirmed that Jedi Fallen Order is getting a next-gen update that is free for owners of the base game on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, and X. All three versions will allow for a 60 FPS mode that runs at 1440p, which is better than 1080, not quite 4K, as well as allowing 4K on the Xbox Series X, but it will be a locked 30 frames per second.
That's fine. I think like when you get to those higher resolutions and everything, it starts to degrade the quality of like how like fast the frames are and everything. But like,
yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Since you own like a copy on the PS4, if you went and bought a PS5, you would just get a copy for the PS5.
Yeah, so I'd be able to download my copy, and whenever the patch is out there, I'd be able to download the update, and then it would treat the game as if it were a PS5 game and have the improvements listed here. So
that is very cool. I think that's great because this game, like, I looked it up and I couldn't find where I got that information. By the way, I don't know if it's the top game of 2020. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but like, yeah. I think this is one of the best like Star Wars games to ever come out, period.
Agreed.
And this only just expands that opportunity for people to play it, right? And expands the opportunity for people to play it as it was originally intended. I didn't have those issues that I know Jack had those issues he talked about on this podcast. You had those issues you just said because I played it on a PC. But now with everybody getting these next gen consoles, I think that it gives them a good opportunity to actually get their feet wet in these sort of things. It's a good marketing strategy for Lucasfilm because they're getting more people to actually do this, to play this game. So yeah, I think it's good all around.
I agree. I'm right there with you on it being one of the best. Like, thinking back to our review for the podcast and my final thoughts on the game, like, really, the only issues I had with it was occasionally it was the performance. Like, I thought Cal was like a fine character, and I like if I want to nitpick, I feel like he could have had a little more depth to him. But like, other than that, I really think the only issue with the game was that occasionally it would chug, be a little framey, so, like, just visual issues, which could impact gameplay, but. Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, I'm excited to see it running 60 frames and a good resolution because that game is fantastic and I can't wait for the sequel.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I know a lot of people have issues with the story and everything. I personally didn't. I thought it was great. And yeah, it's going to be cool to see, this actually like run well for people.
Yeah, I'm excited. And this is probably a nice stopgap for like, okay, replay the game this year and then maybe we'll announce and tease a sequel in 2022. So
yeah, I guess since we're on the topic, when do you think we're going to see some sort of announcement? Because, or here, two-part question: do you think a sequel is inevitable, and if so, like, when do you think that we'll see something?
So I don't know if a sequel is announced officially or if it was rumored that a sequel was greenlit, but I think a sequel is inevitable. Because Respawn, I think, is on fire right now with EA. They're probably like, because I think DICE might be a little iffy with their fans recently too, with like Battlefield 5. But Respawn has been all killer since Titanfall 2, I think. I haven't played Titanfall 1, but Titanfall 2 is a 10. Apex Legends is the best battle royale out there, IMO. Yeah. And Jedi Fallen Order is the best Star Wars game. So, like, they're killing it.
Yeah.
I think we could get let's say a teaser. I could see a teaser this year, potentially.
That's interesting. I think we're going to get some sort of official announcement one way or another on this this year.
I think maybe we get like a CG trailer of just like Cal on a city street or something, and then we get a Star Wars Jedi something.
Yeah.
And then it's like coming holiday 22 or 2023.
Like a last minute like shot of him like igniting its lightsaber and it cuts to black or something. Yeah.
I think if we get anything on that front this year, it's that. What about you? Do you think the same thing?
Yeah, I think you're totally spot on with this. I think it's inevitable. Respawn has just been like killing it recently. If anything, I don't know if cinematic trailer or something like that is going to be something we see, but I do think we're going to get some news on it this year.
Sure. Speaking of getting news on future projects, we do have 2 updates on the upcoming Star Wars films for this decade, which was a weird way to describe this, but Star Wars Newsnet was like, we know there's 3 Star Wars movies coming this decade, and I was like, that is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. I don't know why.
Yeah. No, that's crazy that there are only 3.
Yeah, because if you think about it, last decade, the 2010s, we had 3. Oh, no, we had 5 because of the spinoffs, but whatever. Yeah. Let's start with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, because this is the next movie.
Okay.
In an interview, I forget the outlet, but Chris Pine, it's very minimal. Chris Pine was talking about Wonder Woman 84, which is Patty Jenkins' recent film. Reception on it has been pretty mixed. I'm not worried about Rogue Squadron at all. I think she's still a good director. Chris Pine said that Patty Jenkins discussed the story of Rogue Squadron with him. And he said, I have nothing to comment on about my involvement, but the story was really, really good, and he seemed impressed by it. So.
Yeah, I think Chris Pine's in Star Wars, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see him I can see him playing like an X-wing pilot, can't you?
Yeah, like, I mean, in Wonder Woman, he's a World War I pilot. You know, like he fits that role fine.
He's goddamn Captain Kirk.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he flies the Enterprise. He could pilot an X-wing.
Yeah, and I think, like, I love Chris Pine, and I'm not a huge Star Trek guy. I like the newer movies. They're fun. I would like to see Chris Pine in another big role like that. I can't see him do anything with Marvel personally, but I think Star Wars he could fit in well. Even if honestly he doesn't even have to be a human. Make him in like an alien X-wing pilot. That'd be dope. Yeah,
I mean, I think they've proven the fact that like they could definitely make like the prosthetics are like mad good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they could pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Chris Pine. I think he's a great actor. I haven't watched Wonder Woman 1984. I've heard some like pretty bad things about it, but you know, from most of the reviews that I've like seen about it and everything, everybody is celebrating Chris Pine as like doing a very good job, which doesn't surprise me. I'm not super familiar with Patty Jenkins, to be honest with you. I haven't seen either of the Wonder Woman movies. They don't really appeal to me whatsoever. But you know, I think the idea for like a Rogue Squadron movie is a really great idea, and I'm excited for it, man. Like, I don't know. I won't even say prove me wrong because I don't even have a negative outlook on it to begin with.
Sure, I think, granted, I haven't seen 84 yet, but I really, really like the first Wonder Woman. I think it's one of the stronger DC movies. I know it's not like a high bar, but it's one of my favorites, honestly. And I think in some ways it does the Captain America 1 gimmick of like a fish out of water better than Captain America 1. So I think there's some really good strengths to the first Wonder Woman movie. And I think Patty Jenkins' direction is one of those strengths. So I would imagine 84 just became like a little too hands-on studio stuff the way some other DC movies have gotten. So I'm not worried about her at all touching Star Wars. I'm excited for her to be in Star Wars.
The only thing that bothers me, and not bothers me, but rather worries me about Rogue Squadron is like, is this going to be sort of just like Alphabet Squadron for the big screen? Like, you know what I mean?
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
is it just going to be the same thing, but like just sort of like translated for a wider audience?
Hmm.
I don't know if not saying that would be a bad thing. Like the name Rogue Squadron makes me think it's not going to be just like purely centered around one character. I could be completely wrong.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, that's just something that came to my mind right now. I guess I'm not
Sure.
sure.
I can see that. I could see that be what we end up getting. Um, a little more unknown though. Kevin Feige's Star Wars project. Kevin Feige, for listeners who don't know the name, heavily involved. Basically, the godfather of the MCU. He is the one whose office looks like the meme of Charlie Day from Always Sunny. Like the strings everywhere. It's like all the connections plotting out 10 years down the road. He's the guy in charge of that for Marvel. I think in 2019 it was announced that he'd be producing a Star Wars film. Some people are assuming that based on the pattern of announcements on like directing and stuff like that, Patty Jenkins' movie is the 2023 movie, Taika is 25, and then Kevin Feige's Star Wars is 27. We have more comments from him specifically about his project. Through an interview with Collider, he was directly asked, "Are you involved with Lucasfilm in any way beyond your movie?" And he said, "Not at all," which honestly, I kind of believe, because the MCU, I feel like, has a lot of work right now, more than it almost ever has, because they're retiring a lot of heroes. They just got all these Fox characters. They got to set up the X-Men. They got to set up all these like 30 Disney Plus shows. Like his duty for Marvel is stacked right now. I don't think he's going to take on another franchise.
Sure, but we have to also remember that this is 2027 we're talking about.
Sure.
Like, right, like, so sure, I think like I see where you're coming from, but not to throw a wrench in your idea or anything. If he was so busy with Marvel and everything, why is he producing a Star Wars movie?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think he's not. I think people might have a misconception, and this is just my like speculation, but I think people might have a misconception that Kevin Feige is going to be like the next, like he's going to be like pulling the strings of like the entire like Star Wars cinematic universe and stuff like that, the way that he's done with Marvel. I don't think that's true. I think he's probably going to have a hand in it because he's so like he has a skill set of like managing these huge franchises, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the way that they're going to go with Star Wars, I think it's like, why wouldn't Disney use their own talent to help them sort of like mold this? Now, is he going to be like behind every single Star Wars movie like Kathleen Kennedy is? I don't think so. But I think like he's going to have a bit more of a hand in it than he says he is now.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I think. I think he's just got way too much experience, way too much skill for Disney to sort of like throw that away and not use it with this. I think more likely than anything, it's like Kathleen Kennedy and like, you know, Dave Filoni that are focusing on like really pulling the strings and sort of like connecting things.
Yeah.
That's my thought on it, at least.
Yeah, I see far too often the you know, like the misogynists be like, "Oh, Kathleen's done. She's done in Hollywood. Like she's not been operating for like 30 years as like one of the most successful producers." Like Kevin Feige's not replacing her. I think if he does have a bigger role, I do think it's more in line with what you're saying. I think that potentially maybe he could orchestrate a 3-part overarching story to a trilogy maybe that gets fleshed out in between with some shows, and then like I could see something on that level, you know, not like a 20-year plan like the MCU but with Star Wars, not at all. I think it could be smaller scale, but yeah, I could see a world where he's involved slightly beyond just one film for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just makes me think like what goes into creating what the MCU is now, right? That takes so much organization, like so much management of like so many different people and so many different departments, and like I'm sure that guy is working all the time.
Mm-hmm.
he's got such a unique skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't see why Disney wouldn't have him like have a hand in these things.
Mm-hmm.
The people who look at Kathleen Kennedy and are like, oh, she's done, are morons because she's like you said, she's done like hit after hit after hit for like 30 years. And like like she had like a few flops, but like more often than not, like she comes out on top.
Yeah.
Like she's got a head on her shoulders. Like those people are ridiculous. But like, yeah, I think we're both on the same page here with Kevin Feige.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What we do know, though, which I think is interesting, and I think we had a feeling this would happen. There are rumors, and in an interview with Variety, he was asked about this, and he was like, so this leaked. We haven't said one way or the other on it. That was his response, I believe. The writer for his project is Michael Waldron, again, reportedly, who is the writer of the upcoming Loki series on Disney+, as well as Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is being directed by Sam Raimi. So, Michael Waldron, I believe, is a new get for the MCU. I don't recognize the name. So, clearly, he impressed Feige, so he's getting put on Star Wars.
Yeah, it's one of those things I don't really have much to say about this because I haven't heard the name since now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's weird what we're in this space, right? Like Kevin Feige, he knows like how good Loki is. Like he knows like how mind-boggling like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is. That like he probably trusts this guy to like take Star Wars, and we're just sitting here like, yeah, I haven't seen it yet. You know, like so and like I'm looking him up right now. Like he worked on Rage. I don't know what that is, but like I'm excited. I'm sure he's got it. I'm sure he's very creative.
So I can throw this out there as someone who is pretty invested in the MCU as well and keeps tabs on. We have a Marvel podcast on JoyClicks too, if you didn't know. Like I'm in on both. I
know, but it's good that you're plugging.
Yeah. Loki and Doctor Strange 2 both look like they're dealing with like interdimensional multiverse things, weird worlds between worlds, perhaps. So I'm wondering if Feige's movie might delve into that a little more, and then that's why he's grabbing this guy who's writing 2 stories about the multiverse and stuff like that, you know? And I'll throw this out there too. We don't have to touch on this because this is a capital R, a rumor, but I saw recently it was thrown around that one Robert Downey Jr. is being eyed to play live action Thrawn. So like, again, if you want to talk about recruiting MCU talent for Kevin Feige's movie, maybe it's a World Between Worlds movie about Thrawn. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know. like I know it's a capital R rumor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that one.
I personally, I think it's funny and fun, but like I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, I don't even think that he'd be really good for the role, to be honest.
Yeah, like I know he's been the Tony Stark forever at this point, but like he's a good actor still. I'm sure he could do a fine job at Thrawn, but I think like that's so far away too that like are we really still going to be going in on Thrawn in the year 2027? Like how much unknown is there going to be about him by then, you know?
True. I mean, don't put it past Disney though, man.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We don't know like what the Ahsoka, like I'm sure the Ahsoka TV show is going to go more into it, because like he was name dropped and everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you want to lean into that, we got some rumors in the Force as well. So I figured I think this was our segment at one point, so we can bring it up.
One thing I did want to bring up, just because I'm looking at Michael Waldron's IMDb, he was a producer on Rick and Morty.
Okay.
For 6 years. So
multiverse again.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So yeah, rumors in the Force this week. You brought up the Ahsoka show. I know Kessel Run Transmissions, the podcast in the Star Wars community that has broken some stories in the past, has some info on the Ahsoka show. We won't go through all of it because I probably bet this is real. They predicted some Mando stuff, but it seems that the Ahsoka show is being looked at and produced and written as a sister/sequel show to Rebels. Sabine's gonna be there. Thrawn is going to be involved, and those are the biggest things that I saw.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
People were speculating that maybe The Mandalorian would sort of turn into Rebels 2.0, like the sequel to Rebels. But with all the TV shows that they announced and everything, it did seem as though if any of them were going to be a sequel to Rebels, it would be Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, and just in terms of what the Mandalorian set up and everything, for those who like, spoiler alert for Rebels, but like Ezra and Thrawn go missing at the end, and yeah, that's an unanswered thing that I would I would be surprised if Disney didn't try to do something with that.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's likely to be explored there. More than anything else, maybe that is one of the triggering points that starts up this event that they were teasing between Rangers, Ahsoka, and Mando. We'll see, but I won't be surprised when that happens. So,
do you think we're gonna get gosh, what's his name? The guy who like was trolling everybody on the internet.
Rahul Kohli?
Yeah. Man,
I hope. I hope by 2023, I want him to be in either a Marvel or Star Wars property badly.
Yeah, he just looks way too familiar, like similar to Ezra for them not to use him.
Yeah, I think he'd be great. And we've seen with Star Wars more than many other things that like fan casting can work,
Oh, for sure. I mean, didn't that happen with Rosario Dawson?
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, great.
Yeah. So we'll see what that becomes. But more immediately, we have some things to look at in 2021 when it comes to Star Wars. So we're going to run through what is officially confirmed and what we expect in the world of Star Wars this year. Now, Mike, I'm looking at this list.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that 2021 is a light year for Star Wars? Because I don't. I just feel like it's a different year.
Yeah, I think, if we want to like bring it back just a little bit, I think this whole conversation needs to start on the presumption that like when we talk about like Star Wars, like what we are talking about has changed. Like it's no longer movies and movies only, and the occasional book or comic book, right? And the occasional video game. It's like it's just going to be TV from now on, essentially, with the occasional movie, right? And as this starts to progress, I think like it like Star Wars is going to feel different for us. Now, looking at like this list, there is a lot of stuff. Are there any movies? No. But is there a lot of stuff? Yeah. Because it's all changing. Like the way that we need to think about like Star Wars media is changing fundamentally. And I agree. I think it's a lot of stuff, just in a different way.
Well said. Kicking off all of that, the first thing that's new for Star Wars is already out this year, and that is Light of the Jedi, which is kicking off the High Republic era.
Yes.
We have both begun reading this book. We'll dedicate a bigger conversation to our impressions and thoughts for next week's episode, just to like give some more time for people who might have not gotten the book when it came out. Both of us are still working on it, so we'll talk more about Light of the Jedi next week. But Light of the Jedi is the beginning of the High Republic, and I think it's baffling that they start a brand new era 5 days into a new year, which I think is just good vibes and is probably a good signal for what's happening this year.
Yeah, you got to think they did that on purpose, right?
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, now that we know that the High Republic is not just going to be like books and TV shows, it's also going to include The Acolyte, which is an announced TV show. They're definitely trying to set good vibes. They're definitely trying to prepare Star Wars fans for, hey, like there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. And I think that, I watched the announcement like hour-long thing that they did for the High Republic, and Charles Soule did talk about how like they have already like 3 phases of this sort of like set out. And this is only like the first phase. and that this whole plan that they have goes into 2022. So yeah, I think we're gonna see throughout 2021 just like drops of just things coming out. And yeah, I'm just excited.
Yeah, I am too. What I've read so far, I really enjoy. From the people I know who have finished the book already, seems like it's pretty good. Seems like it's a really awesome setup. There's a few TikTok Star Wars creators that I follow that are like really excited about it. I haven't watched a lot of the content because I'm like, I want to preserve it for when I'm done. But everything I've been seeing is really, really positive, and I'm so excited to finish this book. Mike, I know you got a very nice edition of it. Do you want to show it off for the viewers?
I was literally getting it. Yeah. So this actually came today, so great timing. I've been reading it on my Kindle, but I had ordered the special edition. Let me see if I get this in frame correctly. Yep, the special edition of Light of the Jedi. I'm pretty sure this is still available. I got it on Out of Print, which is the only place that was doing it. It's got like exclusive cover art, which is like really cool. I think that's the Nile, which are the villains. And then it's also, just for the funsies, signed.
That's awesome.
By Charles Soule. And it also comes with socks that say "We are all the Republic" on it, and a pin.
Very, very nice. That's a nice pin. It's a very nice pin.
Oh, it's a great pin. Yeah, I'm pretty hyped about it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I have the basic hardcover version. Still, it's a nice book. I'm very stoked. I got some nice Amazon gift cards for Christmas. I think like 3/4 of that is just gonna go towards pre-ordering the rest of the High Republic books this year.
So yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, are we collecting these now, Christian? Like...
I think so, Mike. Because like, listen, I'm not gonna go in deep on everything. Like, as of right now, there's a comic book that kicked off. I'm gonna wait for that to have a few issues before I see the consensus on it, but I like me some comics, so I'm gonna get through this book. I think I'm absolutely gonna do Into the Dark, which is Claudia Gray's book that comes out in February. Considering how much I love Master and Apprentice and her writing style, I'm excited to see her explore that, again, a familiar relationship between a Jedi Master and a Padawan in the unknown regions of the High Republic. I think it's a really cool concept, so both of those books I can't wait for. Light of the Jedi is already out, available now. Into the Dark is hitting February 2nd, I think, and it is being positioned as a mid-grade reader. I'm familiar with the level being referred to as YA novels, but that's what it is. And Light of the Jedi, and then June, I believe, is getting The Rising Storm, which is going to be the second adult reader book. So just like, it's probably like bigger words. I don't know how they differentiate these. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think The Rising Storm, that is Cavan Scott. I think that's the guy who's writing that, and he's the writer behind the High Republic comic book series.
Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Cavan Scott also wrote Alphabet Squadron. Is that right?
No.
Okay.
Why can't Alexander Freed?
Thank you. Okay.
Wrote Alphabet Squadron. But yeah, I think like I'll probably buy all of like the like I don't want to say like adult books, but like
well, that's the way they're calling it in the blog post, you know?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I think like at some point, honestly, I'll probably read like A Test of Courage, just because why not? Like, I'm sure it's an easy read. Like, I'll probably read the young adult ones, the mid-grade ones, whatever the heck they're calling them, and like, yeah, but for the ones that I'll buy and purchase and collect, I'll probably just do like the main like adult ones. But I'm definitely down to collect them. I want to. I kind of just want to build my library.
Yeah, I got to do that now that I'm like out of college. I need to own like books, you know.
Yeah, you gotta look smart, even though you don't read them, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I have a library. What Star Wars book you want?
Right.
So I think as of right now, in terms of the novels, that's all that's been announced for releases and titles and authors for the High Republic this year. Again,
there was also a graphic novel that was announced.
Okay. Graphic novel, comic books, I think there's some golden books like the child ones. Those are going to be releasing as well in between the big novels. So it is the year of the High Republic. I don't think there's any other way to describe it, but we will follow up on that with each major release.
Yes.
Another thing dropping this year was supposed to drop last year. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is going to be hitting sometime in the first half of this year. Mike, I know you mentioned you heard of a potential leak.
Yeah, so I follow this Lego channel on YouTube, M&R Productions, and I was watching one of his like Ask M&R videos today actually, and he had said that people in the Lego community had seen like this poster that had May 31st as the date that the Lego Skywalker Saga is coming out. But he sort of expressed skepticism about that, saying that it hasn't been confirmed and that, some people think that that might just be a placeholder date. And I haven't seen anything like that myself, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I know that we know for certain that it's coming, or not for certain, but at least what they've said, that they said, the first part of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'd say this is probably one of, if not the most, like the thing that I'm like most excited for sure.
Yeah, we've touched on this before. It seems like it's exciting because it's reinventing the Lego formula as a whole, and it's fitting that they're doing that with Lego Star Wars, which was the big first like IP based Lego game ever that kicked off the Lego game craze. So that's fun. It's cool that they're reinventing that. Everything they've shown so far, the very little amounts of footage they've shown, all look fantastic. So yeah. I'm also looking forward to this as well. I'll be there whenever it drops.
Yeah, I think they said the first part of 2021. I think I've said it on the podcast before. They should just do May 4th at this point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that makes sense. Like we got some heavy hitters coming out pretty soon. May is probably a good place for this, and I'm sure we're going to get a wave 2 of the High Republic announced in May, on May the 4th, and maybe a trailer or two, but I think that's fitting.
May 4th is also a Tuesday. Don't games usually come out on Tuesdays?
Tuesdays or Fridays, so yeah. There we go. Good eye. Another thing that I believe is confirmed for this year, The Bad Batch. Now,
I think that is confirmed, yeah.
Now, Mike, I'm very, very excited for this show, as we've established, because I just think the concept of the Bad Batch is awesome. It's basically the Ninja Turtles. It's cool.
Yeah.
And it's basically season 8 of Clone Wars. It's immediately after the rise of the Empire, starting with the Fast Galactic Empire. We're starting there, which I think is super exciting because we've never seen that perspective, at least from content I've consumed, from the Imperial side.
Right. Yeah, I think that in the trailer that they showed probably a few weeks ago, we saw that, that scene of all the people in Coruscant watching Emperor Palpatine make his infamous speech. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it does seem like Clone Wars Season 8, which is exactly why I'm excited for it. Mm-hmm. Because it's, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see this from the Empire's perspective. And I guess it brings some questions into my mind of whether or not they... So are they going to be doing stuff for the Empire, I guess, during this time?
I don't know. I think episode 1 might be another Order 66 scene. I think we could see how they respond to it, because they may or may not have inhibitor chips since they have deviated from the prime DNA coding of Jango Fett like the other clones. So that's my speculation on it. I think it's going to be interesting to explore that. I think they could be floaters of we're just taking jobs, I could see in the first half of the season they're really tied into the Empire, basically being some mercs or bounty hunters. And then maybe there's a job they get hired to do that kind of falls apart, or they find a Jedi they liked and they're like, hey, we don't want to kill you, and then that gives them a change of heart to be more maybe a little more altruistic than just pure mercenaries. I don't know. But
Yeah, I mean, we already saw, like, we talked about this earlier in the episode as well. Like, we saw Fenik Shand and stuff like that. So maybe part of it is, like, they get recruited by Fenik or, like, something like that. And they have to go on some sort of adventure. But yeah, what makes me wonder whether or not they have inhibitor chips.
And I'll say this too. I think it makes a lot of sense for whenever this is ready, it would be awesome if we replicate the sort of hype and success of season 7 of Clone Wars and we kick this off like towards the end of February, depending on if it's ready. Because if it is, I think it would be a great way to again parse out the Star Wars content with Mandalorian wrapping up in December, end of January to maybe April, we get Bad Batch. May 4th hits, we get a bunch of new content announced, and then we have a summer of more books, and then in the fall we get the new shows.
Totally. Not to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that. Or anyway, do you think that it's already January, that it may be a little bit too soon for them to release something in February?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be open to March as well. I think like spring would be a good time for this, like starting again similar to Clone Wars, or maybe just end of March, even mid-March. I think sooner than later would be really good for Bad Batch, because there's a ton of a ton of Marvel content coming to Disney Plus, and I think they haven't really doubled up on original shows like airing at the same time too often. So I'd be interested to see where they'd place this in with the Marvel schedule, but I hope it's soon.
Yeah, I hope it is soon as well. It makes me, thinking about it too, like The Mandalorian, they were pretty like they didn't release a trailer until like a month before it came out. So
fair point. Speaking of trailers, I think in this hypothetical timeline where Bad Batch hits before May 4th, I think we're gonna get, like I said, new High Republic announcements, but I also think there's a chance we get official like narrative trailers for Cassian and or Kenobi.
No. Yeah, I think Kenobi I'm not sure about, but definitely Andor. I just don't know how far they are in Kenobi, honestly.
Yeah, well, we know they're shooting right now. Like they're shooting Kenobi.
Like as we speak. No,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
So like I could see a teaser, like even just like him standing on Tatooine or something, and it's like him in costume. I think we could get something along those lines. I think regardless, we will see a thing from these shows this year. Maybe not May 4th, but at some point we will see footage that we will be watching in 2022.
Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, you're probably right. I'm not sure what we'll see. It probably won't be that intensive, or it probably won't show that much. But yeah, you're probably right. We'll probably get something to chew on.
We're gonna have.
But I do think Andor is more likely.
Sure. We do have a nice prime rib to chew on this year, though, because we're getting the Book of Boba Fett beginning in December. I don't know if they've given a date in December, but it is December.
This is the feast. This is the feast.
Now, I am still inclined to believe that the Book of Boba Fett is a miniseries that will have some flashbacks to how he survived the Sarlacc pit. I think it'll really flesh out what his main goal is now in the Mando timeline. And I think it will lead into Mando Season 3, which is, as of right now, still announced to release Episode 1 Christmas. That's what they've said. That could be literal, that could be figurative. They did drop Gallery on Christmas this year, but Mando's starting this year. Probably just one episode, and then Book of Boba Fett, I think, will conclude in the month it starts.
I think you're right that the Book of Boba Fett's a miniseries. They said December. I think you're probably right as well, that it's just going to lead up to Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Yeah, I mean, I think if and this is going to be what we really chew on this year, like you said. Like
Hmm.
this is like the big Kahuna. Like
Hmm.
we're gonna get like some serious Book of Boba Fett action in 2021, and that's exciting. I almost hope that it's not like a full series. Like I hope that it's just limited,
Hmm.
because I don't think, like I think they can overdo it in a way, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's something that I'm looking for in like for Boba Fett. I feel like with him, use him sparingly.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a fair expectation. I could see a world where if this series blows up and gets really popular, we do another limited series with him. Like I think we
Yeah.
could explore that aspect, but I don't think this is going to be a locked in like they signed for like 4 seasons or anything like that. Um, I want to ask you this, Mike, because we know we are 12 days into 2021. Vaccines exist.
Yeah.
By December, because again, we gotta wait a long time this year for the big Star Wars content with Boba Fett and Mando. Do you think there's a world where, if those rumors about season 2 of Mando were true, with the Jon Favreau episode, the shot in IMAX, rumored to be meant to release and premiere in theaters, do you think that by December, COVID being okay, they would try to replicate that with either the Book of Boba Fett premiere or finale or the Mando season 3 premiere?
So do you think Mando season 2 episode 1 was supposed to be premiered in theaters? Is
That's
that
what
what
the
I'm
rumor
getting?
was. That's what was there was a rumor that that was the reason Favreau directed it. That was the reason there were IMAX shots. That was
Hmm.
the reason it felt so large scale, is because they wanted to premiere it in theaters.
Interesting. I hadn't heard of that.
Okay.
Though it makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
And if that was really like the route that they were trying to go down, I don't see why not. If COVID is, if we reach herd immunity
Hmm.
or whatever, I don't know what the scientific term is, but yeah, I think if because the vaccine exists, I it's a touchy subject. I don't know, like
Hmm.
if you and I, as 20-year-olds with
Hmm.
like I don't think there are people in front of me. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly. Well,
Um,
like, because I think the timelines make it so like most people should be good by June, at least having a beginning. So like, come December, because I know there's speculation again recently that Disney might release Black Widow on Disney Plus. That's like really heating up. So I could just, if theaters are mostly safe again, because I know theaters are still operating right now for some reason. If in December theaters are mostly normal again, do you think something like The Return of Boba Fett might be something they position to be a theater release to really grab that December Star Wars movie theater experience?
I don't know, because like
Hmm.
that means that they'd have to have already planned that out now,
Yeah,
and like we just have no idea what the summer is going to look like.
yeah.
If that's true about season 2 episode 1, they probably spent way too much money on that to just release it on Disney Plus. Like, let's be honest.
Hmm.
So like I don't know, I think they would be taking like a pretty big gamble if that's the case. And then you also have to wonder, post COVID, are people gonna want to go to the movie theater like so
Sure,
soon? I
sure.
don't know. Like I don't know. I feel like there are just a lot of unknowns that it's unlikely, but that is cool that they, if true, like I didn't know that that was the plan for season 2 episode 1.
Hmm.
Um,
Rumored plan, but
yeah,
yeah.
rumored plan, but it would be cool
Hmm.
for sure. I just don't know how likely it is.
Yeah, man. Because like I could honestly, the more we talk about it, I didn't even realize like with the character of Boba Fett, if you have like an hour long, because if it's a mini series, I could think the episodes could be longer. Like if you have an hour long premiere of a Star Wars project called the Book of Boba Fett, and Star Wars loves December releases, I like that seems like a lot of money on the table. So like even if it's not shot for theaters, I could see a world, like Game of Thrones did that too.
Did they? Like, why? How come I don't know about
Yeah,
this?
it's like it's usually either the premiere or the finale sometimes for like those really big shows. Sometimes they get theater releases.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you're right. They don't have to necessarily shoot it in one way or another.
Hmm.
Like, they don't have to use IMAX.
Right.
Um, but I think there are a lot of unknowns, which makes it unlikely in my opinion. But like, don't put it past the big mouse in that big house he's got.
I think that's fair. So out of the list, these are all the confirmed things and some rumors as well. Is there anything we didn't touch on for 2021 in Star Wars that you either think will happen, expect to happen? If not, what are your top 3 favorite things or most anticipated out of what we talked about?
I think why don't we both come up with a just like a prediction, like just a wild prediction, just something that hasn't been like, I don't know. Mine is, I think they're gonna remaster KOTOR.
Okay, that's
they're
a good
gonna
one.
they're gonna announce a remaster of Knights of the Old Republic 1, and they're probably gonna put it on the Switch or something like that. But out of the list that we just talked about, probably the things that I'm most excited for, number one would have to be the Lego Skywalker saga. I'm like really excited for the High Republic, but like just sort of like in a way that's like kind of in the background. Like, sure. I'm excited for it though. So that's probably number 2, and then probably number 3 would be the Bad Batch. I just want to see a sequel to the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I think so for a hype thing.
Yeah.
I've had this idea a little bit. I do want, because think about like 2009, right? There were a lot of Battlefront spinoffs, right? There was a Battlefront for the DS, a Battlefront for the PSP. I think there were 2 on the PSP. I want a Switch exclusive Battlefront that it looks like the Clone Wars. Like, that's the visual style. It just looks like the series. And it goes in on just all of the planets, all the big battles that we did in the Clone Wars. Make it play like classic Battlefront if you want, but like just like Star Wars Battlefront, the Clone Wars. And it's like Ahsoka's on the cover, you got Rex next to her, and that's it, you know?
That would be cool.
Please.
Wait, this is just a random thing. Do you think that we'll ever get a Battlefront 3? I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think so. I think we will.
I really hope so.
In terms of what is confirmed, I'm with you on the Skywalker saga, but I don't know how high the hype is. I think it's more of just like I'm ready whenever. So yeah. I think for me, it's probably the Bad Batch at number 1, just because I want to see more of the Clone Wars arc and the story and see some of these characters again. Second, I'll say the High Republic as well, because I'm really excited to see the extent we go with this. And third, I'll say the Book of Boba Fett, just because Tamora Morrison saved that character for me. So I'm excited to see him come back.
Yeah, those are good choices, man. I mean, you can't go wrong. All of these are good choices.
Yeah, I'm excited for all of these things. I can't wait for all of them. So.
Me too. It's gonna be a good year for Star Wars, and it's gonna be an even better year for Jedi Knights on Joy-Clicks.
Hell yeah! And we don't even know the extent. There could be a million things we don't know about coming this year. So,
well, think about it. Like in 2020, did you think all those things were gonna happen?
No, I did not, Mike.
No.
I truly.
Well, I mean,
didn't.
like, yeah, on a wider scale, yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what this year brings when it comes to Star Wars. But we will for sure cover all of it every week. Jedi Knights, worth mentioning, we have a new day for release. Tuesday nights on YouTube and podcast services every week. There is a bonus episode coming out this week that will be posting Thursday on YouTube and podcast feeds. Sort of a look back at Mando Season 2 and really digging in depth on Mando as a character with special guest Kale Karloff. So look forward to that. But until the next episode, Mike, where can the listeners find you?
You can follow me on Twitter, as always, at Mike P. Connors.
Very nice. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok. Chun2D2, CHUN, the number 2, D, another number 2.
What a great handle.
I'm glad I got it. You know what? And I got it everywhere, which is very nice.
Like, yeah, you never get that. Never happens.
Yeah, Chris and Buckley. I for some reason I think I couldn't get somewhere. I forget where it was, but now I got Chun2D2 everywhere, which is excellent.
That's really good.
Okay. I was gonna make a joke, but it's not good. We got this show available on YouTube, podcast services like Apple Podcasts and Spotify under the banner of Jedi Knights. If you can rate a review on your platform of choice, be sure to look it up and give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy the show, because it helps us out. And stick around, subscribe for the new year. New content, new episodes every week. We also have Patreon, patreon.com/joyclicks. The $1 and $5 tiers. $5 gets you producer credit on all of our shows, including this one, and a shout out every week. And yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up the first episode back in the new year. So,
what a great episode back. I'm excited for what 2021 has in store. I'm sure it's gonna be better than 2020. So.
Oh, I hope.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sure it's gonna be great, and then like, yeah, who knows? Like a week from now, I could probably be regretting that.
Yeah. So that's gonna do it here. Thanks for joining, folks. Mike, it's been a pleasure.
As always, Christian.
Mm-hmm. And until next week, we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the force be with you.
Oh, yes, you're right. Beep is up.